Vigyan Bhairava Tantra. Vigyan Bhairava Tantra. Today's exercise, meditation, reflection is on Kundalini. Kundalini is the fire of transformation. It is the activation of Shakti from Purusha. Purusha being pure consciousness and Shakti being all its manifestations. And usually this Kundalini is described as a serpent at the base of the spine that basically rises up the spine from the first chakra all the way up to the crown chakra. And when it rises up to the crown chakra, then Shakti and Purusha become one. So think of Purusha as Shiva, pure consciousness. And if you look at the phrase Sat Chit Ananda, then Sat, which is existence, and Chit, which is pure consciousness, is Shiva. And then the Ananda, the bliss component of it, is Shakti, the manifestation. And so Shiva and Shakti actually allow us to have the experience of duality. Even though at the fundamental level of existence, there's no duality, there's only non-duality, which means Shiva and Shakti, the masculine and the feminine, the potential and the kinetic movement of the potential into manifestation are actually one. They're just one, just like, as I said many times, the whirlpool and the river or the rivulet are one, but they appear different. So Shakti is the manifestation. Sat and Chit are the attributes of Shiva as pure consciousness, existence, awareness. And then Ananda is the joy of manifestation. And they go together. Shiva and Shakti go together. And ultimately, the fusion of the masculine and the feminine, all the archetypes in your own being, is archetypal passion, cosmic passion, cosmic passion. The archetypal and feminine and the masculine coming together. And the archetypes are states of energy and information and awareness that symbolically represent the infinite, both in its masculine and in its feminine manifestations. So, Kundalini is a metaphor. Another analogy I can think of is look at a painting with innumerable colors, okay, any painting. And that would be the innumerable qualia that come from one source. So qualia, qualities of experience. So let's say you have a magnificent painting with innumerable colors, but they have one source, and that source has all colors. You can think also of light, white light, as the source, and then the visual spectrum as the manifestation of that one source. And although we think of the visual spectrum in 7 colors, violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, red, so on, orange. Within those 7 colors are innumerable shades of color. Innumerable shades of color. And they all come from one visible light. So think of a painting which has innumerable colors, all qualias of visual spectrum, and the source is one light. Either you can think of it as white light or invisible light, which is actually better. But anyway, those are metaphors, but you get the point, okay? The awakening of the Kundalini and its journey back to its source is knowing duality and non-duality as experience. It can also be said many ways, non-locality and locality. We are non-local beings having a local experience. We are Shiva manifesting as Shakti. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. We are in this world, but not of it. So duality is necessary for us to experience, manifest experience. And non-duality is knowing that the source of manifest experience is pure consciousness, which is our fundamental nature. And knowing this actually is freedom, because as the source, there is the possibility of infinite qualia manifestation. I just mentioned the visual spectrum, but think of the sound spectrum. So you can have innumerable orchestras as various tones and melodies, but they all come from the stillness of pure consciousness, because stillness and silence are necessary for sound. Sound, the source of sound is stillness. The source of color and shape and form visually is also the same stillness. And color and sound and sight and sound are now creating qualia through the internet, through AI. AI can generate qualia, but AI cannot experience qualia. Only consciousness can experience qualia. And ultimately, only consciousness through AI can generate qualia, or through painting or through any other means. Only consciousness can generate qualia. Of course, we have the instruments now that extend our range of qualia manufacturing. But the source of qualia, no matter what the instruments of qualia manufacturing is consciousness. And the experience of qualia is also in consciousness. So even though AI can be used to expand the range of qualia generation, the technology is coming from consciousness. Consciousness is creating the technology, because without consciousness, there's no experience. It doesn't matter what the experience is, what the concept is. Black hole, multiple universes, Big Bang, quantum mechanics, relativity. Doesn't matter what we're talking about. The source is consciousness. There's no black hole without consciousness. There's no quantum mechanics without consciousness. There's no science without consciousness. Science is an activity in consciousness. Science measures experience, but the experience itself is qualia. Okay, so it's also when you're reading a book, for example, you're reading a book of fiction, and all there is in the book is squiggles. Okay, but now we've given meaning to the squiggles, and you read the book. Let's say you're reading The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, or Huckleberry Finn, or whatever, King Arthur and the Round Table. All you're looking at is squiggles, but in your consciousness, you're generating images, feelings, thoughts. That's why we read fiction, or that's why you go to see a movie. So all those are symbolic representations of experience. Let's call them qualia. But the experience is generated in consciousness, and the experience is a modified form of consciousness. It's a modulation. It's a modified form, modified activity, vritti, sensations, sense perceptions, images, feelings, thoughts. And the two go together. So for today, what I would suggest, and we can extend this is a tantric exercise. Visualize at the base of your spine the color red. And you can, if you want, use the image of a snake that is red. And as it uncoils itself and rises, it changes color from red to orange, red at the base of the spine, orange at the level of the second chakra, yellow at the level of the third chakra, the solar plexus, and then green over here, and blue over here, and indigo here, and violet here, and then infinite, unmanifest, transparent there. And then move this Kundalini metaphor, the snake, up and down. it uncoils and then it coils again. And those colors then are reversed from violet to indigo to blue to green to yellow to orange and to red. Now, this is just actually using what we call tantra, mantra, yantra, because you can also add mantras to these. Yantra is the visual. You could add mantras. The first chakra, the mantra is Lam, the second is Vam, the third is Ram, the fourth is Hum, the fourth is Yam, the fifth is Hum, and then Ksham, and then Om, and then reverse that, Om, and you can have Shiva Shakti as Ksham, Kasham, and then you have again Hum, and then you have Yam, and then you have Ram, and then you have Vam, Alam, and then you have Vam. See, the order can be reversed with the colors being reversed. Now, if this sounds too complicated, don't do it. Just have, just move your awareness from the base of the spine to the ground and then back, and even beyond the ground. So from this base of the spine, and this actually takes you away from your normal conceptual mind, which is all stories. And so we are now playing with colors, but also now sound, combination of colors and sound. And then we can see that in these sounds and in these colors are innumerable visual and auditory representations. And the same principle applies to sensation, the same principle applies to taste and smell. But these two are amazingly simpler to do. So this is what we do when we activate Kundalini, the fire of transformation, harnessing the masculine and the feminine for maximum power. Power of what? The power of consciousness. For what? For manifestation. Now, you don't want to unleash this power all at the same time. You want to use the instrument that we call the brain and the body as what Aldous Huxley called a reducing valve, because all of this power unleashed immediately would be like an electrical plant manifesting its entire power in all your household appliances, and they would burn out. So that is why localization is the reduction of infinity as the finite experience, the reducing valve of the timeless into time and into the manifestation of all forms, all phenomena in the theater of space-time and causality. I love this particular exercise. Thank you.